Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION The World is One. I'm Shivan Janna. This is Speed News. Over the course of the next 30 minutes, we bring you a glimpse of all that's happening around the world. Let's start. The Indian Army, along with the Central Armed Police Forces and Jammu and Kashmir Police, is conducting search operations across the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. According to reports, the forces traced and located terrorists at least 4 times across different spots over the period of the last 5 days. The reports further suggest that the forces came very close to cornering them in the forest areas of South Kashmir and exchanged fire in one occasion in Hapat Nagar area. Later, they were spotted in Kulgam, Thral Ridges and Kokarnag. Security forces have intensified the search operations across South Kashmir, including districts like Shopian, Kulgam and Pulwama. Pakistan continues to violate the ceasefire across the line of control, the LoC, and the international border with India. As per the Indian Army, ceasefire violations by Pakistani Army were reported at different places for the 4th consecutive day. Violations were reported at Kupwara in North Kashmir and Poonch in the Jammu division. Pakistan has reportedly activated its key air bases in the Northern Command, and these include the Swat and the Skardu. This is amid escalating tensions with India following the gruesome terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam district that killed 26 people, all tourists. Reports say the Pakistan Air Force was seen conducting sorties involving fighter jets. This as the country conducts exercises called Zarb-e-Haidari in the Southern Air Command region. Fighter jets like the US-made F-16 and Chinese-built JF-17 and the J-10C, they are expected to participate in these ongoing 3-day-long air warfare exercises. India and France are set to formally sign the $7 billion deal to buy 26 Rafale marine fighter jets. This will clear way for the Indian Navy to acquire 22 single-seater and 4 twin-seater aircraft as part of the agreement. Negotiated with France under a government-to-government framework, the deal was in works for several years and was approved by India's Cabinet Committee on Security recently on the 9th of this month. Under the contract, France will also be supplying India with advanced weapon systems and other support infrastructure along with the aircraft. At least 5 migrant workers from the Indian state of Jharkhand have reportedly been kidnapped in Niger, West Africa. The kidnapping has triggered desperate pleas from their families for the government's intervention. According to reports, the workers employed with the Kalpataru Power Transmission Limited were allegedly taken hostage after armed assailants stormed their work site last week. As per the workers' families, the incident took place on the 25th of April when armed criminals stormed the camp where they were housed. Gaza authorities claimed that at least 17 Palestinians, including women and children, were killed in Israeli strikes on Sunday. This comes a day after Israeli strikes on tents sheltering displaced people killed at least 40 Palestinians. In Khan Yunis, Israeli strikes hit a tent, killing 8 people, including a mother and her 5 children. In Deir al-Balah, a separate strike hit a tent and killed 4 children and a man. A second strike hit a group of people in the street, killing 4 people. In Lebanon, Israel claimed it struck a Hezbollah missile warehouse in capital Beirut and issued an evacuation order. Smoke could be seen rising over Beirut's southern suburbs following the Israeli strike. The strikes prompted Lebanese President Joseph Aoun to call on France and US to intervene to halt the attacks and preserve a fragile truce with Israel. The strikes add to strains on the US-brokered ceasefire that ended last year's devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. In Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar are engaged in a battle of affidavits. On Sunday, Netanyahu filed an affidavit in the High Court of Justice where he described the Shin Bet chief as a liar. Netanyahu also rejected claims made by Bar that he was fired for personal or political motives. Netanyahu said in his court statement, "The accusation according to which I allegedly demanded action against innocent civilians or against a non-violent and legitimate protest during the protests of 2023 is an absolute lie." The US president has a message for Russia's Vladimir Putin. Trump said he wants Putin to stop shooting in Ukraine and sign a peace deal in response to a question on what he wanted from Putin. Trump has called for Russia to stop shooting. US National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has said that President Trump intends to use both carrots and sticks to push forward negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels have claimed that US strikes in Yemen's capital Sana'a have killed at least 8 people and wounded several others. According to the Houthi media, the strikes were reported in Thaqban area and Bani al-Har Directorate. The Houthis also reported other US strikes on their stronghold of Sada and the northern Amran province. The US military on Sunday claimed that it has hit over 800 targets in Yemen and killed hundreds of Houthi fighters since President Trump began his all-out war against the Iran-backed rebel group. The US CENTCOM, in a statement, said that US strikes have destroyed multiple command and control facilities, air defense systems, advanced weapons manufacturing facilities, and advanced weapons storage locations. North Korea has confirmed for the first time that it had deployed troops to Russia, with state news agency KCNA reporting that Pyongyang's soldiers helped Moscow reclaim territory under Ukrainian control in the Russian border region of Kursk. The admission comes days after Russia confirmed the North's participation in the Ukraine war. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's decision to deploy the troops was in accordance with a mutual defense treaty. South Korean and Western intelligence agencies earlier reported that Pyongyang sent more than 10,000 soldiers to help in Kursk last year. The Canadian police said that the suspect responsible for the deadly Vancouver car ramming attack had acted deliberately and has a history of mental health problems. The attack left 11 people dead, a number police say could rise further. Police added that the 30-year-old attacker who plowed the car into a Filipino street party had no motive and that the incident was not related to terrorism. It was also revealed that he had a significant history of interaction with police and mental health care professionals. Members of the College of Cardinals went to the Papal Basilica of St. Mary Major to pay their homage to Pope Francis at his tomb. They also went through the Holy Door and gathered for evening prayers. Cardinals who travelled for Francis' funeral will be meeting regularly this week as they start to chart a way forward for the 1.4 billion strong Catholic Church. In St. Mary Major Basilica, the Pope's simple white tomb marked Franciscus, Latin for Francis, held a single white rose and his pectoral cross above. Many crossed themselves or paused for photos as ushers moved the crowd along. Singapore's Deputy Prime Minister has said that the city-state is negotiating concessions for pharmaceutical exports to the United States after a call with US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Gan Kim Yong, who is also the Trade Minister and helms the Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force, told reporters Sunday that pharmaceuticals make up more than 10% of the city-state's exports to the United States. This is according to local media. The move comes ahead of Singapore polls on the 3rd of May. The dollar made a steady start as investors prepared for a week packed with economic data that may give a first glimpse of whether US President Donald Trump, his trade war is hitting home or not. Experts say the greenback has, for now, found a footing while staying on course for its largest monthly fall in nearly 2.5 years, as Trump has rattled confidence in the dependability of US assets. Investors are also waiting on April US jobs figures due on Friday, where a sharp slowdown in hiring is expected. The US also releases first quarter GDP data this week, while GDP and preliminary inflation figures are also due in Europe. Oil prices inched up in early trade but remained dogged by uncertainty over trade talks between the US and China, clouding the outlook for global growth and fuel demand, while the prospect of OPEC Plus raising supply cast more gloom. Some members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies known as OPEC Plus are expected to suggest that the group accelerates oil output hikes for a second consecutive month when they meet on the 5th of May. Expectations of oversupply and concerns about the impact of tariffs on the global economy caused Brent and US oil to fall by more than 1% last week. Indian stock market witnessed healthy gains in early trade with benchmarks rising nearly 1% each amid largely positive global cues. The Sensex jumped over 850 points or 1% to the level of 80,073 during the session, while the Nifty 50 rose nearly 250 points or 1% to reclaim the level of 24,283. The BSE mid-cap and small-cap indices also climbed up by a percent during the session. Asia-Pacific markets were muted in early trade as investors assessed China's promises to support domestic businesses as well as developments in trade negotiations between the US and countries in the region. Mainland China's CSI 300 index and Hong Kong's Hang Seng index were nearly flat in choppy trade. US futures edged down ahead of a heavy earnings week, even as all three major benchmarks rose and notched their second positive week out of three. Gold gained at the open after a round of profit taking in the last week. And this was a moment to cherish for the Liverpool fans who have waited 35 years to enjoy a day like this. It was Liverpool's second title in 5 years, but this time there was a vital difference. 5 years ago, coronavirus restrictions prevented Liverpool supporters from celebrating at Anfield. Now, there was a packed stadium with players and fans dancing into the night. In fact, supporters had thronged the streets before the kick-off in anticipation.